Tonight on The Al Denson Show, join Al and his guests, speaker Dave Moore, Word Records recording artist Paige, answering your email questions, Dr. Tim Clinton, Jeff Calhoun and the Al Denson Show Band. Now, here's your host, Al Denson.
Hey, welcome to the Al Denson Show, man. We are so glad you tuned in. Let me introduce somebody to you. This is Jeff Calhoun, the Al Denson Show Band. Y'all give them a hand. They did a great job already on the rock and show, yes. Woo! Now, guys, let me tell you something. If you've never seen this show before, my name is Al Denson, and the purpose of the Al Denson Show is to do our best to kind of get parents and kids to kind of talk about things that happen in their everyday life. Now, Jeff, we're doing something very, very rare on this edition of the Al Denson Show.
I like rare things.
This is, okay, listen. You're a parent now. I'm a parent now. That's a strange thing for us because all of our life we hadn't been parents up to now, you know. And this show is really going to actually focus on parents. Now you ask why, because you know all the time our shows play to kids. But listen, here's why. Because believe it or not, almost 40% of parents and the emails and stuff we're getting are from parents saying, "Hey, I need help with my kids." Not only the kids watching, but parents are watching. And here's what we titled the show. We titled it "Help for Hurting Parents." Hey Jeff, did you ever break your mom and dad's heart?
Yeah, Al, more times than I care to mention.
You know, same here. And, you know, I think even the kids that are watching the show right now, you're probably sitting there going, man, how have I broken my parents' heart? And you start thinking about it, you realize, you know, and sometimes, you know, you go to bed and you know you've disappointed your parents, but you don't hear them in the other room crying their eyes out saying, golly, what is going on here? How can I make a change? Because, see, you know, when you were born, you were a little bitty baby. Your mom and dad were watching you born. They had so many expectations. They said, look at this. This is our future. Look at this little baby who's going to grow up to be a great man. And then all of a sudden, one day, that precious little baby grows up, and guess what? You end up getting your heart hurt. Their son, their daughter ends up breaking the parent's heart. You know, it's tough. Parents need help. Parents hurt. Here's what we've done. We decided we wanted to hear it from kids first. And we went out and we asked kids, you know what? Listen, when you make bad choices, do you think it's your parents' fault? And here's what the kids had to say.
I think it's the kid's fault.
Most of the time it's the kid's decision, so if it's a bad choice, then he decides to make it. So.
In some cases, yes, because their parents haven't taught them like what to do and what not to do. But in most cases, it is just the child deciding what to do, whatever they did bad.
Oftentimes, parents aren't the failure. They're not the ones who went wrong. But there's just so much influence on children today that parents don't rank up to the same as their friends do.
You know, in a recent survey, 7 out of 10 moms and dads, after their kids had grown up and left the house, they said this. They said, if they could do it all over again, they wouldn't be parents. Now, I'm talking 7 out of 10. Now, listen to this, man. Can you imagine being a parent and bringing that child to this world, and then all of a sudden that child rejects you? They reject your values. They reject your faith. I mean, you know how much pain that causes a parent? Well, listen. This is what happens to your parents. They end up hurting so bad they feel like they're failures. They feel like their other parents look at them as failures. They don't know what to do. And, you know, they get tired of cleaning up after their kids and picking up their messes and bailing them out. You know what? And then they fight with a part that even though they've worked so hard, that separation time comes and they're afraid to let go. But they're too frustrated to hang on, and the parent ends up not knowing what to do. Listen, that's why we're doing this show. We're trying to find help for hurting parents. I want you to stay tuned. Man, you're going to love this show. Dr. Tim Clinton's coming on. He's answering some tough questions. And then, man, this guy's going to nail it on the head. David Moore, he's from Southern California. He's got more stuff in his head than you could think of. So stay tuned and keep it right here on the Al Denson Show.
I don't think that you can blame anything on your parents because it's like you make your own decision, you make your own choice, and like you have like your free will, and so you can't blame it on anybody else but yourself.
I think it goes both ways because like the choices that a kid makes are their own, but yet they're influenced by either the people around them, which I mean could be their parents or their friends. So the way that they're brought up has something to do with how they make their choices, but the responsibility still falls on the person who made the choices, which would be the kids.
Welcome back to the Al Denson Show. Tim, it is amazing to me how many parents are out there that will finally, for the first time in their life, admit, man, they're hurting.
Yeah.
They don't know anymore how to raise their kids, and they're screaming out for help. And you know, I think our culture is trying to figure out how do we get from where we were to where we are today. And it's amazing to me, and people are screaming out all over the place for help. And what do we say to them?
Oh, hey, Al, I mean, the upside of it is I'm glad moms and dads are stepping up.
Yeah.
I mean, they're daring to get involved in the lives of their kids. We need a whole lot more of it, I can tell you that.
I'll tell you this, we get so many emails here, and a kid wrote in, pretty good question here. Kid said, you know what, man, I've blown it in the past. I've lost my parents' trust. I mean, I've blown it, kind of embarrassed my parents, but listen to me. The kid says, now I'm trying to get on the right track, and now I'm on the right track. See, my parents won't cut me slack, man. They don't trust me. How am I ever going to win at this battle?
Al, well, hey, let's step back for a moment. Have you ever been hurt? Anybody ever betrayed you, done you wrong?
Well, sure.
And how long does it take to sort of allow yourself to trust that person again? Just think about that for a moment. Mom and dad are there, and think if your offense maybe was continual over time. You blew it, you blew it, you blew it, you blew it. The more you blow it, the more difficult it is to get back into good graces. In other words, to earn trust back. It takes time to get beyond that anger, that disappointment, maybe that discouragement.
Yeah.
And mom and dad may be owning some of it, feel like they failed a little bit, so they got some of their stuff in there.
Well, when you're saying that, you said mom and dad. I had pulled an email from a parent's feeling just what you said. They said, these parents said, hey, Al, we have done our best to raise our daughters with positive moral values. You know, and one of our daughters, man, she's just gone out in left field, man. She keeps just messing up and doing things, and it's killing us. As a mom and dad, we're going to bed crying, going, why is our daughter like this? What can you do to help us?
Feel like they failed, huh?
Yeah, big time. It's what it's saying right here. They're breaking their hearts, man.
Now, when I talk to parents who are struggling, here's what I say to them. You know, go back to Genesis for a moment. God's probably, well, the greatest parent in the whole world. Gave his children, Adam and Eve, the best home, the best place in the world. Gave them everything. Walked with them in the garden. Spent time with them. Invested in them. Guess what they did? Yeah. They blew it. Here's what's interesting is God never gave up on them. You know that? And he never gives up on any of us, even when we blow it. God will work in rebellion. He'll work in beauty. He'll work in the pain of our life to win our hearts. He doesn't give up on us. So, Mom and Dad, my words back to you are, it may feel like failure right now. Failure is an event. It's not about people. Failure is an event. And so in light of that, don't give up. Don't quit. You're always having an impact.
Yeah, but this set of parents, they said one word that I left out of the email. They say, we feel so guilty. How do you help them also work past the guilt? Because they're thinking, I created this child like this.
Yeah, and that's where I come back and just say, listen, parenting never ends. If you've blown it, Mom or Dad, hey, admit it. Seek forgiveness. You know what? And then step up. Get back up to the plate. And you're not going to get hit if you don't get up to the plate, right?
That's right.
If you walk up to the plate thinking you're going to strike out, what are you going to do?
Strike out, bro.
You're going to strike out. Mom and Dad, step up, believing that you are and can make a difference in your child's life. Again, don't ever, ever quit.
Tim, there is hope for hurting parents, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Listen, I'm telling you, there's hope for hurting parents. We're going to continue to talk about that because, listen, all of us make mistakes across the journey of life. And yeah, I know when my parents were raising me, they were going, what in the world have we done? In fact, my dad gave me a good phrase. He said, son, you know what's good about hitting your head against the wall? I said, no. He says, it feels good when you stop. You know, and sometimes you just got to stop and say, you know, God, I'm just going to trust this to you. Listen, we've got a great guest coming up. Good friend of mine from Southern California. His name is Dr. David Moore. You're going to dig him, so don't go away. We're going to be right back right here on the Al Denson Show. You know, I've been doing ministry a long time, and I think the thing that I've noticed the last 2 years is that people are finally saying, I need a safe place where I can talk to somebody about what's going on inside of my heart of hearts. So I want to encourage you guys, if you have a computer, log on to our website. It's simply this, www.aldenson.com. When you log on there, you'll see our homepage, and on the left, you can see all the different categories and places you can click and different sites you can look at. At the same time, you'll notice right there in the front and center, there's a prayer request. And we've created our own staff just to be able to respond to you and to answer you and to help you. And I want to encourage you guys, if you want prayer, if you've got something you're praying about, here's what will happen. When you click prayer request, you'll get a form. You just simply fill that form out. When you get done with that, you'll send it to us. We'll take it. First thing we'll guarantee to do for you, we'll respond back to you. We'll let you know not only that we're praying for you, but we'll let you know what God says about your situation you're going through. At the same time, we print those out. We scratch out your name to keep you confidential. And we got some churches that pray for you. And they will pray for you in that specific need that you have. Also on our website, you can click over to Bible studies. Guess what? You can do a Bible study every single day. And it's pretty cool. At the same time, we get so many different letters from kids on some common topics. We've identified those to be about 34 topics. And you can run down these 34 topics: anger, frustration, suicide, and there'll be some things that will encourage you and help you. Those topics not only will help you, they'll help you when you have other people that you're trying to help that have those problems. We've also got what I consider to be a great site, and it's about our television show. If we're talking about a topic, whatever that topic is, we take all the research and all the notes that we've done, and we create a book on it. And we take this book and we simply offer it to you. You'll click on the TV icon. The minute you get there, you'll see a different page for that. You can click on the booklet offer, see all the covers of the books. Click on which book you want, fill out the form, and we'll mail you that book. It has been amazing to me how many people email us, how many people write us, and just let us know what's going on. And I want to say thank you very much. Welcome back to the Al Denson Show. You know, we're sitting here talking about help for hurting parents. There's nobody better I could think of to have on the show than our next guest. Let me tell you just a little bit about him. He pastors an extremely large church. I mean, one of the top 25 churches in America, out there in Southern California, out in the Indian Wells, Palm Springs area. But he has an awesome radio show, and I know the minute you start hearing his voice, you'll go, yeah, I recognize that voice. His radio show is called More on Life, but I think the greatest thing about him, beautiful wife, great kids. And you know what? It's just like one of those awesome families. And we were talking backstage because I said, you know, 7 out of 10 people wouldn't do it again. He said, man, I'd sign up in a heartbeat. You know, I'm blessed to have him on the show, and he's got a lot to say. So please do me a favor, guys. Welcome to the Al Denson Show, my good friend David Moore. How are you, man? Good to see you, buddy. Yeah, look at him. You know, it's an honor. And I say that. It is an honor to have you on the show, man, and respect what you've done over the years. But I think parenting-wise, man, nothing speaks greater, I think, of a man and a woman than to see how they've raised their kids.
Yeah, we're kind of on the downhill side of it with 2 married daughters and an 18-year-old son. And as we were sitting in the back just talking about some of this, Sonia goes, you know, I'm a good parent. Yeah. She was kidding with me, and I said, you know what, you are. She has been awesome.
Absolutely. But, you know, there's a lot of Christian parents who are hurting. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
A lot. And when I say that, you know, sometimes being a Christian parent, there's a lot of misconceptions about how to raise kids, and man, they end up hurting. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. Our first misconception is that we tend to think that these are my kids. And when we take ownership like that, we fail to remember that they're really God's kids. They're on loan to you. And you know, you take better care of things that are loaned to you than things that are yours. And that leads to kind of a second misconception where we believe there's a formula. We think that if we just do this and this, we will have great kids. Right. And that sets us up for the third misconception, which is good parents equal good kids. And that simply isn't always the case, because the greatest power on the planet is the power to choose. And sometimes kids from good families choose poorly. And there's a lot of pain associated with that. And that leads to that fourth misconception that we often buy into, that I'm responsible. That if my kid makes a mistake, it's my fault. Somehow I did something wrong. And so all 4 of those misconceptions lead us into the arena ultimately where, as you mentioned earlier, 7 out of 10 say, wouldn't do it again, too much pain associated with it.
Well, parents just don't want to hurt anymore. I mean, it's true. I got to tell you, I broke my parents' heart many times. How about yourself?
At least once.
Yeah, but I hear you. But in the process that my parents wait once every 24 hours. But through the process of that, how do we help parents? I mean, I understand they're grabbing the misconceptions, but how do we help them get some healing, get some hope, how do we put some life back into it? Because some of them just feel defeated.
Yeah, well, the starting point, Al, is to understand there are no perfect parents, no perfect kids. And we live in an imperfect world. And so if we can get our expectations more in the arena of reality and season our family experiences with a whole lot of grace, we're a long ways down the road to making it happen. It's also important to understand that God understands. You know, in Isaiah chapter 1, Isaiah spoke as if God were speaking through him, and he said, children I have raised, they don't know me. The ox knows its owner, the donkey its master. My kids just don't understand. And there's a frustration. There's a picture in the scriptures of a of a frustrated father, God, trying to reach creation and his children. And if you think about it, he's a perfect parent.
Right.
Never made a mistake.
Absolutely.
Placed Adam and Eve in a perfect environment.
Sure.
They had everything going for them,
Yep.
and they still dropped the ball.
Yep.
And if they did, it's going to happen in our lives too, which is why I say that grace thing is so important, and come alongside. We live together, we die together, same team, stop pointing fingers, and start doing some hugging and some holding and some talking. And it's just an essential thing. And the other thing that's really helpful for parents to remember is that in the Bible there's a story of Samson.
Yeah, here it comes. I love this.
It's an amazing story. You know, Samson was one of 6 in the Bible who had a magical conception to a barren older woman. He's one of 3 who had a divinely announced birth. He's one of 2 whose life purpose was spelled out before his birth.
Sure.
This puts him in a pretty special league.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then it says that the Spirit of God came upon him and that God blessed him.
Right.
And then there's an entire chapter devoted to his home life, where his parents were literally brilliant. They communicated, they were encouraging, support, all the things that we'd all want to be.
Sure.
They were.
Yeah.
And then Samson, the result of this perfect environment,
Yep.
a screw up.
Yep.
I mean, one of the greatest failures in the Bible. His first words out of his mouth, I saw a woman. Get her, she looks good. And the guy was a slave to his glands and to his impulses and his human imperfections.
Wow.
And so the reason I mention that, Al, is because if we as imperfect parents, without all of these special divine...
Sure, he had it set up for him, that's a fact.
How can we expect that our kids are going to really be perfect?
Well, we have so many parents who are hurting, and you know, we tell them, I mean, it's Christian television, we tell them, God will help your pain. You know what I'm saying? Can you take that a step further, and what's God's attitude toward the fact that they're hurting? Push that further down where they can really swallow it.
Well, God understands. That's probably one of the most helpful things. When we were raising teenagers, we had those nights where you lay in bed and you cry. And you worry about the decisions that kids are making, because sometimes their decisions can cost them a lifetime.
Yeah, that's true.
And to know that God understands and that He's been there, that's priceless. And then, as you go to Him in prayer, there is a miraculous thing that happens, and that He comes alongside of you, and despite the pain, He gets you through one more day.
Wow.
And often He replaces the pain with peace. In some of the most adverse, difficult circumstances, we've all heard about parents, and Sonia and I could tell you the same thing. In some of those darkest, questionable moments when you wonder, is this kid going to be okay? There's a strange overshadowing of peace, and of course the Scriptures promise that.
Right.
That if we'll just take it to Him in prayer, He gives us peace. It's interesting that those verses don't promise that He'll fix it. And this is one of the mistakes I think parents make.
Real good point.
They think that if I just pray hard enough, if I do everything right, God will step in and fix my kid, but He won't overrule their free will any more than He'll overrule our free will. And He gives us the power to choose. And so that peace that He gives is something that is, according to the Scriptures, humanly unexplainable. And yet we've experienced it. You're going to experience it.
It's coming up.
You're at the easy time right now, man.
Well, I'm liking the fact that I'm at the easy time. Listen, you know what, David, thank you so much. And when we come back, we're going to do our best to wrap it up and kind of give you some hope right here on the Al Denson Show. So stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Well, I don't think so at all, because like my parents, like when they were young, like teenagers, like they weren't bad at all, but like I'm like the Satan kid of the family. Like I was one that was in trouble.
Yeah, I believe so. But it depends, you know, because like most parents, their kids just run all over them.
Yeah, sometimes it depends, because there are some bad people and they had to come from somewhere.
Just because your parents are good doesn't mean that you'll have good kids. And I think that because it says in the Bible, if you train up your children in the ways of the Lord, they'll eventually come back. So I think that that eventually your kids, if you teach them the ways of the Lord, they'll come back.
It turns out I'm not everything I thought I'd be. Turns out, well, I'm not very much at all, yeah. And right now, I'm not exactly where I wanna be, yeah. And right now, So the creature I am now, yeah, yeah. And I'm lost, sense of direction, and I wanna be with you. I wanna be with you, and I'm lost. Won't you turn my world around? Take me, Lord, break me. I am willing to be made like you, yeah. Let my life cry, holy, holy. Let my life scream, holy, holy. I do believe that you're the only way, so let my life cry, holy. I want to be like you, love. I want to be like you. I want to be like you, love. I want to be like you. Let my life cry, holy, holy. Let my life scream, holy, holy. I do believe that you're the only way, so let my life cry, holy. Let my life cry, holy, holy. Let my life scream, holy, holy. I do believe that you're the only way, so let my life, you're the way, so let my life, the way, so let my life, you're the way, so let my life cry, holy.
No, my parents were like, I mean, they weren't perfect, but we went to church every Sunday. It wasn't just on Easter and Christmas, it was every Sunday. And then I remember whenever I hit 13, I just didn't care and I totally stopped going to church.
You can have loving parents who try to do everything for their kid, but yet the kid's just like, you know, whatever, I'm going to do my own thing.
Yeah, as we wrap up this edition of the Al Denson Show, well, I want to thank Paige. What a great song, man. She does a good job. And David Moore, thank you so much. I appreciate your radio show, More on Life, man. Love it big time. And man, it's kind of amazing we got a chance to come out to your church, you know, and sing. And what a blessed congregation, man. I appreciate what you're doing out there.
It's good to have you there.
That's a big church, man.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes people, when they're raising kids, you know, like my mom and dad, I relate. We both fly private planes a lot. And I mean, you've even done the military stuff before, you know, it was just kind of cool. But it's kind of like, sometimes it feels like you're in the middle of a storm upside down, or like you did an F-14 thing. What was it like?
That was an F-16.
F-16.
We did full combat maneuvers and dogfights and all that kind of thing. And there were a number of times, Al, that you could not tell which way was up. I mean, the guy would take a hard right turn, pull 9 Gs, your head's against the canopy.
Yes.
At any rate, the only way to know where you were was to trust the gauges. And there's a good analogy there for parenting. There are a lot of times as a parent, you just don't know what to do, you don't know what to say, you don't know where to turn. And that's when you go back to, there is a God who is the center of this universe, who understands me, loves me, accepts me, knows what's going through the heart of my child, and will walk me through it day by day.
But what do you say to the parent who's watching that, honestly, they've listened to what we said, and they say, you know what, David, I think it's my fault. They feel guilty.
A lot of times it is our fault as parents, because there are no perfect parents, and we've got to quit kidding ourselves and quit trying to kid our kids.
Yeah.
You know, one of the most powerful things you can do, Al, is when you make a mistake, when you've let that temper fly, said some things you shouldn't have said, you go right to that child and you confess it.
Have you had to do that being a parent?
Yeah, at least once.
At least once again? Is it difficult?
It's really hard. One of the hardest things I've ever done. And we were fortunate enough to be able to pray with our kids every night. In fact, our 18-year-old son, we still pray with him. He invites us in for a little prayer. But those are the times when I've had to say, I was insensitive, I was fast-tracking it, sorry, forgive me. And forgive me are the key words, not just sorry. Because there's a difference, you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I'm sorry can be, I'm sorry if I hurt you, I'm sorry.
Sure.
But no, forgive me puts the whole
Sorry
blame.
I got busted, but hey, yeah, I understand that. But you know, if you're a parent watching, I want to say this to you, like the F-16, upside down, alarms going off, which way is up? If you're out there and you're struggling and hurting, I want to remind you of one thing, and I think, David, you said it real well, is that we've got to be reminded that, you know what, God's there.
Yeah.
That God knows our every need. By the way, God not only knew it, He sent His own Son to stand in place when we make those mistakes. And Jesus Christ died on the cross for us. So we could have forgiveness when we mess up, so we wouldn't have to live with the guilt, so we could get past some of the hurt. But we have to be able to not only know that God is there, but rely on God, to be aware that God's presence is in our lives, you know what I'm saying? And when we start to do that, we realize these things. The undoable, it starts to become doable. You know, the unbearable starts to become bearable. And you know what? And even think, you know, when you're at your breaking point and you're going to give in, believe it or not, God won't let you break. He'll keep you in there for the fight. Listen, moms and dads, look at this. Help for Hurting Parents. I want to give you this book. This book, I'm predicting, this book right here will be the book that's downloaded the most from our website, because parents are screaming all over this nation, would somebody help me? Somebody give me hope, peace, comfort. Here's how you get this book. You simply log on to our website at www.aldenson.com. When you get there, you'll see the Al Denson logo. Click on it, and it'll take you to just a ton of different books you can download, and you'll see one that says Help for Hurting Parents. I want you to download that book right now. You can have it in 3 minutes and start to read it, and I think you'll understand what David and I are talking about. You'll understand how to have that peace in the midst of the storm. Hey, thank you for watching. Hey, kids, those of you that stuck around with us, man, we appreciate you hanging in there. Why don't you love up on your mom and dad sometimes? Sometimes it's nice just to walk in there and put your arms around them and say, hey, Mom, Dad, I think you're all right. That means the world to them. Keep us tuned in. You'll see us scanning by the channels all the time. Look at these faces and say, hey, that's the Al Denson Show, and cut it on. Hey, we'll see you next time right here on the Al Denson Show. Yeah!
We want to hear from you. Write us at The Al Denson Show, Box 220, Grapevine, Texas 76099. Or email us at aldenson@aol.com. Thanks for watching, and be sure to tune in next time to The Al Denson Show. The Al Denson Show is an outreach of Celebration Ministry.